talked about being more confident coming in to this year than he did the year prior. He just feels like he really improved on his touch around the net, his competitiveness, every aspect of his game. He feels like he's more confident in now. You can see the way that he shoots the puck. He's more confident, and he just basically said that they want us to play like the Sabres want us to play, and he's got high hopes of going to training camp and making the Sabres roster. You want him to have that mentality. If he didn't, then you would kind of question why is he here. So for the fact that he has that mentality, that he wants to crack that Sabres lineup, and if he does go back down to Rochester, I think he's going to take it in stride. But he's got a lot to build off of here from this prospect challenge going into today's training camp. And I just like his mentality. I like the way that he wants to play this year and what they're expecting of him. Now Seth Appert is an assistant coach under Lindy Ruff, who was with him all year last year in Rochester. So I think Seth Appert's going to be kind of an advocate for Jiri Kulich in that sense, and all those other guys coming up from Rochester, because he has such a unique relationship with those guys that Lindy Ruff just doesn't have. So I think he'll be in his ear about which guys he thinks that are ready and maybe could use another year and some seasoning down there in Rochester. But Jiri Kulich, obviously a guy that a lot of people around the hockey world have high hopes for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard because, like you said, he says all the right things. He plays the game the right way. He even said he wants to get better at his two-way play, his defense, things like that, which Vinny Prospal also kind of agrees with. But at the same time, it's like, what a way to set the tone for your training camp. I think it's going to be really hard for him to make the team out of camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to take a Zach Benson. Like there is no chance that we can send this guy down, because unfortunately for Kulich, they can just send him to the AHL and use him as their first call up. Like, they have some flexibility with him and other guys like Roseanne and things like that. So I'm really excited to see how he handles himself in this preseason. He's got all the talent in the world. He's a great shooter. He's got the right mentality, like you said. And worst case scenario, if he doesn't make Buffalo right away, I don't think there's a lot of doubt from anybody out there that covers this team that he's the first call up, because he's that talented. I think it's time for him to make the jump to the NHL, but I also am acknowledging that if he's not on that second line scoring role, there's really not a spot for him. So unless he forces their hand, he's probably not going to make the team. But that is not an indictment on him at all. He's going to go down to Rochester. He's going to work on some things. He's going to light up the score sheet like he always does down there. And this year, I hope, is the year that he gets an extended look, because we all talk about how great these prospects are. Eventually, you need to see him in the NHL. Otherwise, what are we doing here? So I'm really excited to see what he does this year. I really hope he forces their hand and makes this team, but I also am not 100% confident, because I just think, like, with the mix of they need to win now, the team has they said they're in win now mode. All their moves don't necessarily reflect that. But if you're in win now mode, you have to make those tough decisions. But I mean, what a story it would be if he forces their hand and has just an unreal preseason and becomes a full-time Sabre from day one this year.
So before we hit the break, if you're Kulich and like your mindset, they kind of cleared the path for you to have a shot. Like, they move out Skinner, they buy him out. They moved Matt Savoy in the offseason, so that was another guy, another top prospect that you were kind of battling with for an NHL spot. Again, Zach Benson kind of passed all of them last year, which nobody really expected that quick. But when you look at it, if you're Jiri Kulich and you see, they didn't go out and get that top six forward that we were kind of clamoring for the whole offseason. You move out Skinner, you move out Savoy, you must think you have a real shot to make this team, even if he doesn't end up getting it in the end. The path is there for him to see that he could be a Sabre in the near future.
Oh, for sure the path is there. Like you just said, they didn't really replace that. The closest thing to a top six guy that they went out and got was Jason Zucker, which, no disrespect, if he is your stopgap top six for the first little while one of these guys finally comes up, I'm fine with that. But in a perfect world, Zucker would be on that third line as a scoring winger. That kind of leaves the potential of, let's say, Kulich, a Benson, and a Zucker fighting for that second line scoring spot.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against Zucker. He's older in this league, probably better suited for a third line winger. Benson was really good last year. He made the team out of camp. He had some ups and downs, but he showed that he's a really good NHL player. Again, don't want to just hand him the top six spot, but I like his style of play. I wouldn't be mad at all if he was slotted in on that top six line to start the season to see how it goes. But like you said, it's not like those are beatable barriers. Kulich could very well beat out both of them and earn that top 6 scoring spot, and then they can both be on the third line. So the path is there. I just wonder, like, we see the path, other people see that same path, but I just wonder internally for the Sabres, how realistic is that? That's my only concern here. I'm not saying they've already made up their mind, but it feels like they've kind of already made up their mind based off the fact that Greenway's still here, Krebs is still here, they have Obey Coupel, they have a lot of extra forwards already. So I'm worried that internally their mind's already made up, where it's, like I said, he's literally going to have a Zach Benson-esque preseason and force their hand, which is not out of the question at all, by the way. Jiri Kulich is extremely talented and can very well do that. We could be sitting here 2 weeks from now and he could be that second line winger.